All right. Welcome everyone to the 2026 Green Party gubernatorial debate for Oregon here in the Pacific Green Party. My name is Justin Phillip. I'm the secretary of the Pacific Green Party, and I'll be moderating today's discussion. It's really great that we have three candidates interested in representing the Green Party and getting the Pacific Green nomination for governor this year. Um, we're better when we have a lot of interested candidates, so this is great. Um, Amy Sachs is here. She's with the state coordinating committee. She's going to be our timekeeper for today. And she will mute you once you kind of hit your time limit, and then we will go on to the next person. I think what we'll do is we will give each candidate, Amy, if you're ready, 60 seconds to introduce themselves. We'll start with this order, Dawn, and then Jason, and then Matt. If you all would like to take 60 seconds to introduce yourself, we'll get started there and we'll just keep going. I appreciate y'all being here. It's nice to see you. Thank you. All right. Yeah, candidates, you'll have the ability to unmute themselves when needed. Dawn, the floor is yours.
Hello, Green Party. I'm so happy to be here. I am an activist. I have been all my life. I grew up in a Mennonite community, and their social justice work and pacifist work I use today. I consider myself a Unitarian Universalist church, though, now, all the compassionate religions. Uh, I'm in a million organizations working for no war, fair trade, and full political and economic rights. I love the World Beyond War, Veterans for Peace, Chapter 72, Code Pink, and recently, Peace and Justice Works was uh, our leader, Dan Handelman, passed on, so that's really sad, but we miss him. Continue the work he's doing. Uh, how much?
10 seconds. Oh, she's muted. Okay. It's okay. You don't have to use your full 6 seconds if that was good. If you're good on an introduction, we'll go next. All right. So next up we have Jason Wright. Jason, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Jason Wright. I may originally be from California, but I moved up here to Oregon about 5 years ago. California, as we all know, is just the land of the lost and, you know, not a viable place for anyone who's not part of the Uber elite, which I am not. I am not tied to Epstein or any of his friends. I am not tied to corporations, multi-bazillionaire media moguls, none of that. I am just an average, ordinary person who happens to be a man of many talents, who can wear many hats. Some say jack of all trades. I like to say I'm actually a jack of many trades and a master of about a dozen. I've been working in political analysis for, wow, about a decade now. Just had my 40th birthday. So I've been doing this for a while, been very active with the.
Sorry for the abrupt cut off, but we're trying to keep it fair. Thank you, Jason, and belated happy birthday. All right. Okay, Matt, please introduce yourself. 60 seconds.
Hi there. My name is Matt Rowe. I'm the former mayor of the great city of Coke Hill, Oregon, my hometown, where I served 2 terms, standing up against corporate welfare, urban renewal redistribution from the poor to the rich, keeping utility rates under control, and improving public services and amenities. And we did it without raising taxes. And so that's a record I'm very proud of. I also served on the Coke Hill School Board from 2017 to 2021. Obviously, we had COVID through there. We navigated a lot of controversial issues. I'm very proud of the fact we expanded hot lunches to the neighboring school district of Powers. We expanded free books free lunch in our school district, and I led the effort to get rid of pay to play for kids' sports, and I'm very proud of that. And so I'd like to take the record of principled activism that I have at the local level and be able to advocate for this party, a party which now I have joined. I have left the Libertarian Party and joined the.
All right. Well, sorry, we're being harsh today, but hey, welcome to the Green Party. Great to have you. Okay. All right. So we're going to get into the questions. I just want to tell folks the questions. I gave all the candidates an opportunity to submit their top three issues because I really wanted to give you all an opportunity to talk about the issues you care the most about. I know you probably care about more than just those three, but I wanted to make sure that those top issues got some attention. And then we opened it up to our membership. We asked for feedback. We asked them to ask to let us know what they want to hear talked about. And so we're going to launch into about 10 questions right now. That is sort of a combination of what the candidates have indicated they want to talk about and what the membership has indicated they want to hear about. We're going to start this next one with Jason and then Matt and then Dawn. Each candidate will get 90 seconds. And then if you want to raise your hand for a rebuttal, we'll give you some additional time. I'm going to put the questions in the chat just for everyone to see. So it's helpful if you kind of lose your train of thought and you want to, what exactly was that question again? But the first one is healthcare. It's a big one, okay? And I'm going to copy it and put it right in the chat and then read it to y'all. So Greens have long supported healthcare as a human right. What steps would you take as governor to move Oregon toward a universal, publicly funded healthcare system that guarantees care for every resident? And we'll start with Jason on this one, 90 seconds.
Thank you. Yeah, so ultimately, right now, I have zero power. Unless y'all elect me, I can't do anything. If you do elect me, I am going to work with doctors, with hospitals, with healthcare providers. I will work towards bettering all of Oregon, not just some of us. I don't care what political party, what political leaning. If you live in Oregon, you should be cared for by your state and your elected representative. That's just how it should be. If I'm elected, that is exactly what I will do on every issue, but most importantly, healthcare.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Matt. Oh, we won't start. We'll restart the clock for you, but just make sure you don't
I'm
mute.
sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you were being polite and not and muting yourself when it wasn't your turn. But okay, here we go.
All right. Well, as somebody whose son was born 2 months early and even while having insurance got hit with a $190,000 bill, and somebody whose mother had a horrible accident, became a quadriplegic 3 years ago, and having just lost my father to prostate cancer a few months ago, I'm intimately acquainted with this disgusting, exploitative, sleazy healthcare system. And we need to actually, it's the death care system. And I believe the first thing we can do is expand the Oregon Health Plan's eligibility to every Oregonian. Now, that may sound a little wild, like, how are you going to pay for this? Now, this is a fair question. It would be paid for on three fronts. One is the simple fact that we would tax the deadbeat employers, large scale employers who dump their employees onto the Oregon Health Plan while not giving them adequate compensation. The next one is a 20% tax on the profits of the health insurers in this state, who literally make money just by passing papers and giving people the option of living or dying at their algorithms, conscience. Forgive me there, I sort of stomped on that one a little bit, but I was going to say the other part is that we're going to have, for the average Oregonian who makes under $62,500 a year, they would have no premium. Those above would have a maximum cap based on income of $500 for a family.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Dawn, 90 seconds on healthcare.
I am a former RN. I was a nurse from 2002 to 2008. Healthcare is a human right. I've been a part of Healthcare for All Oregon since 2011, and I joined the Physicians for National Health program. We went to their convention a couple years ago. 32 out of 33 industrialized states have single payer healthcare except the US. We're the one. And we can start with single payer healthcare in Oregon. That's how Canada started their provinces, one state at a time, and it funds itself. We don't have to pay any more. It's cheaper to have single payer, and it's a human right.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. All right. And I don't see any hands raised, so I will assume everyone said their bit about healthcare, and we will move on to the next question. This one will go in the order of Matt, and then Don, and then Jason. This one is sort of critical. This is about campaign finance reform. And I'll paste this into the chat as well. Oregon has historically allowed unlimited campaign contributions. And if you've been following the news, this has been going through the legislature. They just passed a bill about this. So what campaign finance reforms would you pursue to reduce the influence of wealthy donors and to strengthen grassroots democracy in Oregon elections?
Well, the simplest thing we can do, and I learned this a long time ago, is publicly finance elections. It is far cheaper for the taxpayer and far more effective for a diverse democracy and getting ethical legislators and office holders to simply just pay up front. And so one of the proposals of my campaign that I hope can be a model to replace the disgraceful campaign finance bill that was adopted by the legislature in the short session, a betrayal of the compromise that was made with the Democrats 4 years ago, and it is an example of why no compromise can be made now because of their fecklessness and their lack of any integrity or commitment. But it would be a simple pledge. You say you're not going to raise more than $50 from a single donor per election, and you receive a certain amount of funding from the state, a flat rate. It would start with state legislators, and as the program proved its success, we could expand it statewide. It wouldn't solve all of the problems of money in politics, but it would be a historic step forward in our country's, I must admit, somewhat lagging democracy.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Don, campaign finance reform.
Campaign finance reform is huge. I am a member of Honest Elections, and Dan Meek has been forming our policy for having real campaign finance reform, transparency, no loopholes. Campaign finance reform was just shot at the HB 2018 that passed, has a lot of loopholes in it and stops real campaign finance reform. So we're going to have to go to the ballot to change the Constitution of Oregon to say we have to have campaign finance reform. Yeah, it's terrible what's going on. Oregon has never had limits on issues before, so this is new.
Okay, thank you, Don. Jason, campaign finance reform.
Yes, I actually happen to agree with candidate Rowe there. At one point in time in the United States of America, there was a process of campaigning for any level of seat that really actually just funded a candidate. This is how much you get, spend it wisely. Of course, that was before mainstream media, television, the news. That was before needing to spend like $5 million just to run an ad for 30 seconds. Um, I would do away with a lot of that. I would actually approach something very similar, not exactly the same, but something similar to what candidate Rowe said.
Thank you, Jason. I see one hand up. It looks like Matt would like to add on. So, Amy, can we give Matt 30 seconds?
I just wanted to say that also we did have caps for one election cycle. It was the 94 election cycle. Actually, it was the 96 election cycle. We had limits adopted in 94, put in place in the 96 election, and we had one of the highest rates of turnover of incumbents actually losing, having competitive elections. And what was the first thing they did? They sued. And they had a very, very sympathetic court, of course. And we know limits work, but we also need to get money in the hands of candidates that are supported by people, not just corporations. And so that's why I still advocate for public financing.
Thanks, Matt. Yes, the Green Party's long stood for public financing of elections. All right, the next question. We're going to move on. I don't see any hands up, so we're going to go on to the next question. We're just clicking right along. This one, we'll go Dawn and then Jason and then Matt. This has to do with a state public bank. And I will put this question in the chat. So the Pacific Green Party, in addition to supporting publicly funded elections, has supported the idea of public banking. How would a state public bank work in Oregon, and how could it be used to fund affordable housing, renewable energy projects, and local economic development?
Hello. Yes, CFR, our public state banking is another one of my top priorities. I was a member of the Portland Public Banking Alliance in 2016, led by David Delk. He's my mentor. Now, Albert Gisbert, Antonio Gisbert, has started up a new Oregon Public Banking Alliance, trying to get a state public bank in Oregon uh, in 28. And I would try to put it in the first year that I'm in because we would save $1 billion in interest alone by not giving it to Wall Street bankers and keeping it in Oregon. $1 billion.
Thank you. Okay, Jason, public bank.
Yeah. So I would remind everyone that right after 9/11, there was big bank crashes, and the federal government of the United States decided to, rather than, bail out we the people, uh, decided to bail out big banks like HSBC. Um, many banks that are not local but actually global um, have predatory like procedures. They kind of gatekeep against those of us who don't have millions of dollars already, while making it quick and easy for anyone who already has their millions with them to do pretty much whatever they want. I do not like that system. I think it is grossly unfair and unjust, and I would work to correct that.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Matt, public bank.
Well, as Don pointed out, we're already giving away $1 billion to the Wall Street hedge funds and bankers and speculators, which, as we've seen throughout Oregon's history, has been fraught with boom and bust. More often bust than boom for some reason. It seems like the house always wins at a casino. But I think it's an outstanding idea. I've supported the idea of a public bank going back to when I read Byron Dorgan's book, if I recall, in 2007. And I'm like, this makes a lot of sense. And as I've gotten older, all the facts and the evidence bore that out. I think on top of the billion we already have invested, because obviously we can only, if we want to be smart with the money to make sure it lasts, you have to loan off the interest. And so we're going to need to firmly invest in sure industries and in Oregon home ownership, long-term residency, because if people dig roots, they're more likely to succeed and to pay their note. I think we need to have a tax on bank profits. I think there needs to be a surcharge on high income loans for fancy estates over $2.5 million. There ought to be a surcharge, and that'll help also introduce more revenue into the bank. But I don't want to see a state bank manipulated as a means of subsidizing corporate interests, which all too often can happen even with a public body. And so we need to ethically do it and put Oregonians first.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, I don't see any hands raised to add on to this one, so we will move on to the next question. Thank you all so much. We're going to go to this next question. We'll go Jason, Matt, and then Don. Jason, I believe this is an issue that is close to you. We're going to talk about infrastructure. And I will put this question in the chat. So Greens often emphasize climate resilient and sustainable infrastructure. What investments would you prioritize to transition Oregon's infrastructure? Or even more broadly, what would you like to do to address the general idea of infrastructure in Oregon?
Well, there is a lot that needs to be done with our state's infrastructure. Uh, Many of us hear about ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, and all of the problems that they've been having. It's not because there's no funding. I've been doing the research on it in order to prepare for the plank on this. And turns out that there's just a stoppage of the funding when it needs to be doled out to pay people to do things like fix our roadways. I I personally am also very, very familiar with wildfires and how they impact, given, being raised in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. I would like to see fire breaks. I have a fire break implementation plan, which would rely heavily on indigenous peoples of Oregon, providing thoughtful input, but also a partnership with us so that we can do it right and we can prevent wildfire from just sweeping across our entire state and ruining everything, stopping all of our commerce, all of just everything. It all stops, just like with COVID. I want to fix that.
Thank you, Jason. Okay, Matt, on the topic of infrastructure.
Well, infrastructure is something that's near and dear to my heart. As a mayor, we had a lot of a town that was very, very poor. We had over 40% over the poverty line. And we had completely dilapidated infrastructure as far as streets, sewer lines, water lines, culverts. And we worked very aggressively to improve that. And I'm very proud of that. Now, obviously, the state of Oregon as a whole is not the city of Coquille, but I think we could apply some of the same principles here. And one of those is the simple fact that our rail infrastructure is a disgrace. What is it? We had 3 derailments in the course of a few weeks earlier this year. I mean, literally, we can't even keep the trains on the rails while other countries have high speed rail connecting the most rural communities to urban centers. So you can actually help alleviate rural poverty. It's still a long commute, an hour, hour and a half by bullet train, but they're connecting the rural areas that need capital with the city that has more of it. And so I think one thing we have to do is greatly improve our rail infrastructure. And if we have to use eminent domain to do it, I think we need to explore it, because these rail companies have not, they've completely abrogated their responsibilities to worker safety, environmental safety, and most importantly, to the greater interests of the community. And so I think we need to invest in rail. I think we need to invest in our airports and create an Oregon Airlines to interconnect rural airports with the cities. Forgive me, there's more, but I'll stop there.
Sounds good. We will allow Don 90 seconds on infrastructure, and then it looks like we were going to have some folks that want to add on.
I am a neighborhood emergency team member. I have been since 2014. We prepare ourselves in our community for emergency management, earthquakes, and heating and cooling shelters. It's social infrastructure that I would like to start paying people to take because it's that important. Pay people to take FEMA classes and be ready in emergencies. We need our bridges, our homes, our buildings all prepared for earthquakes. We need public transportation and trains that are faster and safer. Yeah, I'd like to pay people to get educated. And that's all.
Thank you, Don. Okay, I see a hand raised. Amy, can you give Jason 30 seconds to add on? Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you. This it's really a follow up for candidate Rowe. When you say eminent domain, a lot of voters, including myself, get kind of worried about that because that literally means we are going to take what you have. So, is there something that you can say quickly and concisely for us to help alleviate those fears? Because right now, even though I'm not a property owner, I'm still a little bit worried.
Well, I guess I would argue that the great railroad interests that have been robbing and screwing the state of Oregon for well over nearly 2 centuries now are different than the people of the state of Oregon. And I think the state of Oregon's constitution is very clear about a person and their rights. I don't think corporations have the same rights as people. And so, if it's in the greater interest of the people of the state and they have abrogated their responsibilities under the law, and it's in the interests of the greater society of the state of Oregon, you use what the Constitution says, and that is you can, for the public interest, acquire that through eminent domain. And no, I'm not particularly sympathetic to the shareholders of the big rail industry.
Thank you both. All right. So we started that one with Jason, correct? That was infrastructure. All right, let's move on to the next topic. I want to talk about data centers. Data centers have been in the news a little bit, and I think there were some politicians recently calling for a moratorium on data centers. I'm going to put this question into the chat while you gather your thoughts. But data centers are popping up all over the country. Some have even been calling for a moratorium on building these data centers. What problems do you see with the rise in these data centers, and how would you address this as governor? And we'll start with Matt, and then Don, and then Jason.
Well, I think the biggest problem is one, we're draining water and electricity and increasing pollution all to power. AI to replace us all. Call me crazy. That is like, it makes no sense. Only in an exploitative, rotten, speculation based system could this stand. That's why you don't see them operate this way in other countries. They don't even operate this way in California or Washington. That's why big tech bribed our politicians, the Democratic majority, our supposedly good, strong allies in democracy and in the environment, to essentially deplete the entire water supply of the Columbia River Basin, or excuse me, in the Dalles area. They have water supply. They will have shortages in the next 5 years, if not before then. And they're planning to get more money to give to the big tech companies. We've seen it in our utility bills, and they say they've addressed it. But this is completely untrue. We are still subsidizing astronomically the interests of these data centers. And then the state gives them huge tax breaks while they pollute and while they take our jobs through AI and while they raise our utility rates. It's insult upon insult upon insult. We need a governor who's going to stand up for our rights, for our ecosystem, and for our people. And I'm going to do that by making them become self-sufficient within 5 years for new facilities, and within 10 years, if there are new facilities, and there ought to be a moratorium, but 10 years for existing facilities, they need to become self-sustaining.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Dawn, data centers, please.
I have been reading up on Columbia River Keeper's ideas for data centers, and we need for sure to make them pay for their own renewable energy. We can make Oregon the best renewable energy in the world. Big pockets of the corporations can fund this. We need to protect our own water, though, and it is troubling that data centers take up as much electricity as 4 Seattles. So that's something that we should think about in the future as going forward. We should not have tax breaks and incentives for the corporations for data centers. Make them pay.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, Jason, on the topic of data centers.
Yeah, I would just quickly point out that California, Oregon, Washington, Alaska, Nevada, it, there are many states where this is happening. It's not just Oregon. This is a nationwide issue. And because it also happens to be here, it is something that I've been paying very close attention to. Yes, they eat up a tremendous amount of power. They, to generate that power, generate a tremendous amount of pollution. And that's really the big problem. It's that and the fact that a lot of these big data center companies aren't really paying their fair share in taxes. Some of them get such massive tax breaks thanks to the current incumbent governor. Uh, they get such huge tax breaks when they don't need it. They shouldn't be getting it. They pollute to get the power to run, and then they don't have to pay for it. It's absurd. I think we're all kind of on the same page with this, that this is wrong. It's hurting the people, not just of Oregon, but the whole country. And something does need to be done, which is why in my education plank of my platform, I have critical and technological education as one of the main points so that we can have a generation who can figure out how to tackle this properly.
Thank you very much. And I'm gonna refrain from editorializing, but I am gonna say y'all are killing it on staying within the time limit. Nice job. Very, very well done. Thank you, Amy, for your continued help on making sure we stay on track here. All right.
You aren't leaving me much to do. You're all doing so great.
Okay, this is going well. All right. So next up, let's see here. This one we're gonna have Dawn kick this off, and then go to Jason and then Matt. So this one has to do with criminal justice reform, and I'm gonna paste that question into the chat, and then read it for everyone. Many Green candidates advocate for restorative justice and reducing incarceration. As governor, how would you reform Oregon's criminal justice system to focus more on prevention, rehabilitation, and community safety rather than punishment? Dawn, you can go first.
Thanks. there are good places in the world with criminal justice. Oregon is not one of them. Norway is the beacon of hope, where you, instead of being a politician and then going to jail, they have people in jail becoming politicians. They don't lose their right to vote or to run for politician or run for office. The public servants go to the jails and improve them. A beaten horse does not get better when you beat it. That's the psyche that we need to change in America. No punishment. Violent crime should not have jail sentences. And for those who do need extra help, it's mental help that they need, not punishment. We need to rehabilitate everyone. Everyone is a sacred, holy thing that we need to treat that way. And we need to decrease reasons for going to jail with having a whole host of public services for people. And yeah, rehabilitation, no punishment.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Jason, on the issue of criminal justice reform.
Thank you. Yeah, so down in California, I actually, through my political analysis work that I was doing, helped to draft something that unfortunately didn't pass, but it would have held judges and police officers who choose to not do anything about crime, serious crime. I'm not talking you stole a Snickers from a store. That's petty theft. That's not a serious crime. People like the people who murdered my dog, people who commit domestic abuse, people who blatantly, flagrantly harm others. I do believe there should be punishment. I do. And I think, third, that there is actually a mechanism that allows for an officer to say, yeah, I see the crime, but I don't want to care about it. Or allows for a judge to say, well, Mr. Brock Turner, I know that you were caught in the act of sexually assaulting and violating a young woman who you drugged, no less, but I don't want to destroy your life, so I'm going to give you a slap on the wrist because you seem like a nice kid. That's absurd. That should not happen. Not in a civilized society. Not on my watch.
Thank you, Jason. Matt, your turn on the topic of criminal justice reform.
Well, I think the word we need to focus on is justice, not punishment. And sometimes justice involves punishment. Some people, for the greater good of society, cannot be saved. I look at the war criminals in Washington, D.C. I look at Mr. Netanyahu. I look at certain people who, frankly, have committed such crimes, so grievous crimes, that there's no rehabilitation for them. And punishment is warranted in a just society. Also, destroying somebody's life over a mistake especially when there are mitigating circumstances, is not justice. The labels we put on ex-felons or people who have not even been convicted of a crime, but accused of a crime, are completely unreasonable in a society where we expect these folks to be law-abiding and to be social as opposed to antisocial in their behavior. And so we need to do more at the intake, but not even just at the intake, not even at the first infraction. We need to expand after-school programs. We need to expand youth programs once they're out of school. We need to do more for the children in the Oregon Department of Human Services custody, or the foster children. And we need to do more with the young people at the end. And then when there is a first time infraction, we need to be very aggressive in the intervention of therapy, of community service, and of education and vocational training options. And then after that, we obviously need to improve the situation for the incarcerated.
Thank you, Matt. I see Dawn's hand is up. She'd like to add on. Amy, could you give Dawn 30 seconds? Go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah, I want to just say that not everybody is winning the womb lottery, which means you have enough resources and compassion, education growing up. A person should be judged by how they act when they have power. And everybody on top, we need to help, um, just as when people are on the bottom. Um, we need to give equity, which some people don't win the womb lottery and need to be given extra resources. So we should not abuse the abusers.
Thank you, Dawn. And it looks like Jason, you'd like to also go. Amy, could we give Jason 30 seconds on this? Thank you. Go ahead, Jason.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to just make my stance a little bit more clear. I agree. Abuse is never right, no matter who's doing it, no matter to whom it is being done. Abuse is abuse. That's not okay. However, to not implement any sort of penalty for crime is basically abetting and encouraging for crime. Now, if we know someone is a troubled youth, there are programs that help with that. We can do that without shame, without abuse. I'd like to see that. But crime is crime. Sometimes it needs mercy for justice. Sometimes, though, as candidate Rowe said, sometimes a penalty must be faced.
Thank you, Jason. And then Matt, go ahead. You have 30 seconds.
One thing is that there have to be consequences in society, but we need to offer choices. And I think the choices you offer a kid who, steals his girlfriend's parents' car for a joyride are going to be different than Ted Bundy. But obviously, we want to reform people. It's we want to get them to be productive members of society. So hopefully they can run for office. Then we can have, the crooks in Congress have somebody to actually learn from. But no, my point is that we need to have a just society that's accountability regardless of class and political affiliation. And we need to actually invest in fixing these problems as opposed to sweeping them under the rug in prisons.
All right, thank you all. All right, we're more than halfway through. I have just a few more questions for you all. Um, let's see, we started with Dawn on that one. So this one will begin with Jason and then Matt and then Dawn. This has to do with housing. There's so much that could be said about the issue of housing, but I have a question specifically as it pertains to the unhoused. So recent statistics on homelessness indicate that there has been a 35% increase in the number of unhoused people in Oregon since 2023. What would you do to address this growing crisis? And Jason, we'll start with you.
Well, so first of all, I've got to say, I've been there. I've been out on the streets. I've lost everything that I had, my job, literally everything, due to police abuse down in California. Part of the reason I moved up here. Now, up here, it's vote by mail only, which means you have to have a place of residence in order to get a ballot. The people who are homeless that I've been talking to don't get ballots and therefore can't vote. This is like, that's so not with the founding fathers. Oh my God. Now, in order to properly, adequately represent and address this issue, one of the first things in my belief that we're going to have to do, we can keep vote by mail. I'm not totally opposed to it, but making it exclusively vote by mail is a great injustice to not just the homeless people, but also people in rural areas who aren't gifted with, a thriving metropolis next to them with 30 drop boxes for their ballot. Um, these supply chains have all kind of, gone wonky thanks to the current incumbent. Um, I personally would love to see it all fixed, and I have.
Oh, I think we ran into the time limit. Okay, thank you, Jason. Matt, on the issue of housing and the unhoused.
Well, I have a very ambitious housing plan, and the first part of it is that we shouldn't give $2 billion to developers to not build anything, and to nonprofits not to actually fill beds with people who need to be housed. The short and simple answer is the way to solve homelessness is to get these people homes, to get them places to live, safe places, clean places with running water and power, where they're not having their personal lives policed by a nanny state, but where they're given a sense of independence and community ownership. And so I have proposed as part of my housing plan, which includes high density housing and workforce housing and mid income family housing. But for the immediate intervention level, we need to have tiny home communities across this state that have in house social workers and in house resources to help folks. Now, obviously, you're always going to have a certain amount of homelessness because some people just cannot fit into society because of maybe an affliction or something in that regard. But what we can do is mitigate the overwhelming cause of it for most people, which is lack of money and lack of resources available for mental health issues. And so the best way to deal with homelessness is to get them housed.
Thank you, Matt. And Dawn, on the issue of housing.
Well, I think we need a lot more low-income housing developed, and I have an idea to buy up apartment complexes and have like Sisters of the Road did with diners, give people jobs in learning how to cook and care for restaurants. Also to have on the bottom level a art studio for people to sell their things. Uh, I believe in guaranteed basic income. 1,500 a family would be ideal, so housing would be more affordable. Uh, Also to treat drug addiction as a mental illness and not as a barrier to housing. That's what I have for that.
Thank you, Dawn. And Amy, it looks like Matt would like to add on. If we could give Matt 30 seconds to provide additional comments. Go ahead, Matt.
I was just going to say that in addition to the tiny home communities, one of the most ambitious parts of my housing plan is to create 25,000 condominium units that will be rent to own, financed through state bonds. And this would be at an affordable rate, 30 years, you own the condominium. It's a self-governing community after that. And I was going to also add that we need to through a state bank and through other options increase access to family housing, not just I mean, these condominiums could house a family of four, but we want to be able to have home ownership beyond the condominium level. I'll also add vote by mail works in Oregon. It's for us, and us folks in the sticks know how to cast our ballots too. So thank you.
Thank you all. All right. Oh, go ahead, Jason. You want to add on? 30 seconds. Go for it.
Thank you. Yes. So I I did not mean any offense. I am actually from rural farming area. That's what I grew up in. Um, I merely wanted to point out that this entire state, on pretty much every level, lacks adequate representation. And maybe some folks in rural areas do feel well represented, but most of the folks that I have talked to, especially the conservative folks, do not. I would like to see that change. I would like an Oregon for all Oregonians, not just some.
Thank you, Jason. All right. Oh, did you want to re-rebut, Matt, or is your hand still
No,
up?
very, very quickly. One, homeless people can vote in Oregon. You just need to register at a public location. It makes delivery very difficult, but the homeless can vote in Oregon. Secondly, every small town has drop boxes that are within very close radius. I don't think it's the mechanism and the process why people feel alienated. It's the fact we have a bought and paid for, rigged, corrupt system. It's not the voting mechanism. This is where MAGA gets it wrong. It's not that the system is predetermined. And so vote by mail should be protected. I adamantly defend it.
All right. And just check in to make sure no one else wants to say anything else on this. All right. We're gonna go to the next one. All right. So education. I mean, if you're running for any office in Oregon, they're gonna ask you about education, right? Uh, I'm gonna place this question into the chat. Um, And before I read it, I just want to point out, like, I think Oregon ranks somewhere in the middle of the pack nationally on funding per student, but it's consistently in the top, or excuse me, bottom 10% of all states in graduation rate. So given those circumstances, public schools, as we know, and higher education in Oregon face challenges ranging from funding gaps to uneven student outcomes. What reforms would you prioritize to improve student achievement while ensuring schools have sustainable funding? And I think that's going to be, I think we start with Jason on the last question. So let's start with you, Matt.
All right. Well, this is an issue that's near and dear to me, having been on a school board and also having a wife who's a special education teacher at the Coos Bay School District. Uh, the short and simple of it is we need to increase flexibility at the local level on how dollars can be spent as far as how they are utilized to help the kids and to develop our teachers and get them resources, not be gobbled up by administration. One of the things that I saw on the South Coast ESD school board, and I saw when I was on the Coquille school board, is the massive growth of administrative expense in our public school system. We hear teachers smeared constantly as the reason our schools are over budget. No, it's usually long term bad management of facilities, of assets, and administrative glut. I propose that we adopt a policy, and if I were governor, I would make an executive order to the Department of Education to cap all educational overhead spending at 25% for administrative overhead. The remaining 75% would be slated for teachers and children and programs. Um, it shouldn't be this hard when we spend this much to get these kids educated. We need to empower communities. We need to empower students. We need to empower families, and we need to empower teachers. We need a little less AI in the classroom, as Tina Kotek has made it a priority, and a little more IQ from our teachers, helping our children and doing the work that needs to be done, especially in a society when these kids, their parents are working two jobs. So these teachers are almost like parents.
Thanks, Matt. I think we ran into the time. Dawn, go ahead on the issue of education.
Well, Finland has the best schools, and they don't have the same things that we have. Um, we need to not have tests, teach for tests. We need to, in Finland, they have 20-hour work weeks for the kids and no homework. We need to teach critical thinking and bring back all the arts and civics. It should be a priority. If as Thomas Jefferson said, if it's education is the greatest community resource there is, and if you don't think that people can uh, govern themselves, we shouldn't take it away. We should teach and educate. So we need, I have been a paraeducator substitute in the past and have seen in the trenches. We need to inspire our kids and uh, decrease the amount of uh, children to teachers ratio and pay them really well, increase pay.
Thank you, Don. Jason, I think you're next on the topic of education.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm glad to hear all this talk of Finland. My Vili over in Finland, for those of you who don't speak the Suomi language, that means brother. My brother over in Finland has actually taught me a lot about how they have no homelessness, how Don is correct. They don't assign massive amounts of homework. They have the children complete things in class so that if they have any questions, any concerns, they can ask the teacher whose job it literally is to be there and teach and answer these questions. So I'm glad to hear that it's not such a kind of a taboo topic to mention Finland. Um, that's again something that I was trying for down in California, but they're so backwards down there that they don't want to take care of the people. I would like to see a Finnish style education system complete with critical and technological education so that we can raise generations for the future who will do even better than anything that we can find. We can also strengthen things like, the special education system. Some students need a little bit more help than others. It's not saying anything bad about them. Everyone learns differently. And we should be able, as a society, to be okay with that and to be able to implement some sort of plan that would actually allow for people to feel that they have the room to learn and grow.
Thank you. All right, I don't see any hands up, so we're gonna move on to the next one. We just have a couple more questions. We have like two more questions, and then I will give you an opportunity to ask a question of another candidate. If you have a question for another candidate, I just want to put that out there right now. You can kind of start thinking about it. Bear with me. Quick edit here. Okay, so this has to do with standing up to the Trump administration. As you know, there's like a lot going on every day. Uh, so if the policies, I'll read the question that I posted in the chat. If the policies from the administration of Donald Trump conflict with Oregon's environmental protections, immigrant rights, or civil liberties, what actions should the state take to defend those values while protecting vulnerable communities? And in your estimation, has Governor Kotek done a good job in this regard? So I think we started with Matt last time. So Don, do you think Governor Kotek has done a good job of standing up to the Trump administration, and how would you stand up to the Trump administration? Sorry, be sure to unmute yourself. We'll make sure we give you the full time.
Thanks. The world needs real leadership now, even more with Trump in power, trying to usurp international law by bombing boats and other countries. And we should the National Guard should only be deployed for emergency management, not for wars overseas that are illegal, and there are no legal wars. Every war is mass killing, and nobody should be training to kill. Our sanctuary state needs to be upheld. I support defunding ICE and having international law for having everyone that needs asylum should get it. And now we're treating everyone as criminals, and we're going against international law. So that's huge. We need to help our neighbors and not create ways
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So we'll go to Jason next. So Jason, do you think, in your estimation, has Governor Kotek done a good job in standing up to the Trump administration? And how would you stand up to the Trump administration?
Well, I hate to keep bringing California into it, but they're just such a good example of what not to do. Down in California, they have spent millions and millions and millions of dollars, taxpayer dollars, fighting uphill court battles against the Trump administration. And sure, they might have a victory at a lower level court just to have it go up to a higher level court that is actually more Republican leaning, thereby more likely to side with the current sitting president, right? Now, rather than say, let's pick and choose our battles wisely so that we don't detrimentalize our own people. Instead, both the current incumbent governor here and the current incumbent governor down there, who is actually finally on his way out of office, they've spent millions and millions of our taxpayer dollars, just thrown it away. And who's getting that money? The lawyers. Do lawyers need more money? Do they? Do they need more millions of our dollars? Or could we maybe put it to a little bit better use by properly picking and choosing our battle? I'm not saying you have to have a 100% guarantee that you're going to win. I'm just saying don't pick the losing side of the losing issue and throw tens of millions of dollars at it.
Oh, I think we ran up into the time. Thank you, Jason. Okay. Matt.
Having been involved in politics in Oregon in one way or the other, as a journalist, as a consultant, as an office holder, as a party activist in the past, it's not a test of leadership of what you do when everybody's watching. It's what you do when people aren't watching. And I think it's evident that Tina Kotek's opposition to the scumbag in the White House, the war criminal, the thief, the possible sex offender. But when he was at the height of his powers, when he came into office for the second time, he had several Oregon students targeted for deportation because they dared to criticize the state of Israel's genocide in Palestine. And Tina Kotek put up no fight. Some of those people got to stay because they were able to get nonprofit legal help, or their families were able to come up with the money for adequate legal representation. But the governor didn't stand up for 1 minute. One thing I would do is I want to clean out the boards of trustees for every public university and install people who will defend academic freedom and the rights of students. And I think that's just sort of a prerequisite for any just democratic system. Secondly, I would have the state police shadow ICE when they're operating in our state. And I would have them arrested and detained immediately if they were involved in an incident that killed one of our fellow citizens. There's a lot more we can do to resist, and we should. And we have to have solidarity if we're going to make it through this.
Thank you. I'm going to take the opportunity to ask some things were brought up during this discussion, and I would like just a sort of a rapid fire, lightning round here. Yes, no. In the same order, we'll go.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It would be very hard for me to do just 30-second increments if we're going rapid fire. So I'm just going to rely on people's goodwill because you've all done a great job so far.
Yeah, like less than 10 seconds. I just want to know, do you support abolishing ICE? Anyone can go in any order.
Yes. Abolish ICE.
Abolish it and investigate its conduct and jail those responsible for the crimes.
Yeah.
Jason?
No, because that is a federal agency, and the governor of the state does not have federal authority over federal agencies. To attempt to do that would be a federal crime. I don't want to go to prison, especially not Fort Leavenworth.
I'll go to prison.
Just do you support it?
If the will of the people was to have no more immigration and customs enforcement at all, I mean, hey, the will of the people is the will of the people, and that's the way that this is supposed to work. If that's the will of the people, I'll listen. But I would not unilaterally take it upon myself to attempt to abolish a federal agency.
That's fine. We just want to get folks on. That's fine. It was like 10 seconds. We just want to get folks like, do you support abolishing ICE? Yes or no? Next question. Do you acknowledge what's happening in Palestine is a genocide?
Yes, it's a genocide.
I called it.
Pardon? Go ahead, Jason.
My apologies. I did not mean to speak over you, candidate.
That's okay.
I said it has been for a long time.
Thank you. Matt?
No, it's been a genocide since the beginning of the Zionist project, which was based on colonialism and racism.
Thank you. That's good. No, that's good. We just kind of want to get you guys on record on a couple of key topics that I know are really important to a lot of people. All right, this is the last one. This is kind of a tough one. Not everyone maybe identifies as an eco-socialist, but since 2016, the Green Party of the United States has identified as an eco-socialist party. I think it's kind of one way we try to differentiate ourselves from some of the other parties. How if you're campaigning as a nominee or co-nominee with the backing of the Pacific Green Party, how would you represent eco-socialism in your platform? And I forgot what order we were in, guys. I'm sorry.
Don't forget to add it to the chat as well.
Thanks.
I want all our products and our choices to be eco-socialist. We need sustainable, recycled materials and compostable materials for everything. We can lead.
Thank you, Jason.
I would start first and foremost by reaching out to every indigenous tribe here in the state and working very closely as they are willing to, working very closely with my fellow natives to, figure out how to make things a little bit healthier for us all, a little less detrimental.
And new to the Green Party, Matt?
I think one of the great challenges we have is how do we sustain ourselves economically while not destroying this planet? It's something we struggled with for a long time. And I think it's clear that even the best practices today, we'll probably find out 30 years from now we weren't doing enough. And so we need to be the best we can while also making sure that we're actually doing what's in the best interests of the community economically and ecologically. Because what's the point of having money if you can't breathe, or if you can't drink the water, and you can't enjoy a balance with the state of nature in a positive way? And so I think what we need to do is encourage more value added production, making more out of less. We need to increase our green power generation. We need to hold corporate polluters accountable, like the big data centers, like some of the bad actors in the timber industry, like some of the bad actors in the home building industry with the disposal of hazardous materials. Um, I think what we need to do is also adopt better practices with wetland restoration and improvement. I love the way that beavers are being used across the country to cheaply and naturally raise water table or raise the water levels in drought-stricken areas. And I think we need to do a lot more to reduce erosion runoff into our waterways, which can devastate our salmon, often as a result of overlogging. And so those are the things I think we can do that are in alignment with nature that are also going to be positive economically.
Thanks, Matt. And it looks like Jason would like to add on. Amy, we're going to give Jason 30 seconds. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, I thought that it was supposed to be like a 5 to 10 second thing. So I didn't really say everything that I was planning on saying. I
Oh,
would
I'm
also do
sorry.
the
I meant I did maybe it wasn't clear. We were sort of resuming the normal format. My apologies. Go ahead if you want to expand.
Can
yeah,
we give him the full minute and a half then, since there was a little confusion
Why don't
there?
you just, yeah, give them 60 seconds. Okay, how about that? And then if anyone else would like to add on, we'll do the same for them.
Thanks.
okay, thank you. So I think that Matt's right. We do need to find a balance. We are human beings living on planet Earth. We have needs, we have wants, we have desires. We live in homes, which usually take, they require materials to build them. You have to like go and get the materials, whether it's lumber or concrete, whatever. Now, we need to find that balance so that we are not making sure that our future generations have to figure out how to, remove arsenic from the water in order to be able to drink, or, how to properly negate microplastics in all our foods. These sorts of things I think are tackleable. I think we can do it. I really want us to find a healthy, proper balance.
Thanks. And again, my apologies for not being clear on the format. But Don, if you'd like to add on, go ahead.
Yeah, I love labels when they're correct, like USDA's organic and fair trade, and I'd like to create more labels that say if the materials used for packaging are compostable and made by recycled things. We need to educate people to look for these labels and demand them and boycott things that aren't good for the environment. Teach bottom up and top down practices, grassroots and policy coming together to help out the world. And that I just needed to.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. So we're about wrapping it up. I'm gonna give the candidates an opportunity to ask each other a question if you'd like. We'll extend this to Jason first, and then Matt, and then Dawn. And then after we get through that, if you want to ask a question of a candidate you didn't ask a question of already, we'll give you opportunity to do that. So like if Dawn wants to ask Matt and Jason a question, she can do that, and so on and so forth.
Do you
So
mind reminding me of our time? My laptop is having one of its little episodes right now.
it's a great question. Let's keep this one to 60 seconds, okay?
Both question and answer?
Well, the question has no time limit, I guess, but let's keep the responses to 60 seconds, okay?
Oh, fine.
All right. Jason, do you have any questions for anyone?
Uh, yeah, I mean, I have a question for each of my fellow candidates. I would start maybe with candidate Rowe. Sir, I think I've mentioned to you before that I am attempting to build a coalition government. If I'm elected, I don't want just greens. I don't want just greens and blues. I want the whole darn color spectrum because that's what Oregon is made of. So my question to you is, if you were elected right now, right here and right now, if would you pursue a coalition government? And if so or if not, why?
Thanks, Jason. Matt, 60 seconds on coalition, building a
Hist-
coalition.
History shows what happens when you form coalition governments with fascists. And it doesn't end well for democracy or for the people. I believe the Republican Party of the state of Oregon has been, from already a very vile party, become something that is just downright reactionary, dog cult-like in its devotion, and completely malleable in its values. That is not somebody you can operate in good faith within a government. I think, one, the executive branch, we have a divided executive in Oregon, and the governor has no say over the legislative leadership. So I'll just say that I want the best people who share our values to be part of the team if we win. That said, I'm not going to stick out my neck and hand a knife to people who shot a nurse 10 times in the street and shot a single mother or shot a mother of three in the face.
Thanks. And I'm just going to use a little bit of like moderator discretion here. I think Jason, I'm going to allow you to ask Don your question for Don, and then Matt, you can take this time to prepare if you have any questions you have for the other candidates. So go ahead and ask your question to Don.
Thank you. Yeah, it's actually the same question. I've done political analysis for 10 years. I did a whole year of analysis before ever deciding that, yeah, I should throw my name into the hat. That's how I came up with the idea for the coalition government. So I would ask the same thing as you, Don, and pardon me, candidate Regier. Is that proper? I don't want to butcher your name.
Regier. I just learned it myself.
Yeah.
I
would not.
So
I would not work with people who don't share my values. What I would do was use media and fireside chats like Franklin D. Roosevelt did. He was very transparent and talked with his constituents about his challenges and goals, and I would do the same. I would even go so far as having a reality show where you wear a body camera wherever you go, so no backdoor deals could be done. I want to recreate what it is to be governor, reimagine it. I want no backdoor deals, only meetings. The only meetings that the governor is in will be public and they'll be available for everyone. That's the leverage I will use, the media and the power and the transparency.
Thanks, Don. Matt, I'd like to give you an opportunity to ask a question of your fellow candidates if you'd like.
My question is for Jason. Jason, I saw that you were a leader in the Cal Exit movement, a secessionist movement for California to leave the United States. I'm curious why you believe secession was legal then, and why, if you do still support it, would you apply it to Oregon, or have you changed your mind?
Well, someone's been doing their research. Yes, I was the head of Palexit, and not secessionist, a movement towards self-determination, which is a international legal standard that the United States of America has signed and agreed to. That's what made it legal. It, however, fizzled out as a movement because though I was the head, I was not the only person. I am not the be all end all. And in a movement of millions and millions of people, one person at the top does not alone make the entire thing. It fizzled out. And I realized that's not going to happen. I also had been living up here for a little bit by then, and they were okay with it. Now, I still live up here, and I would like to see wherever I'm residing be a healthy, prosperous place where people can feel that they have adequate representation and that, needs are going to be met without, bullets flying and bombs dropping.
All right, I appreciate it. Do you have any questions for Don, Matt?
Um, no, but are we allowed rebuttal very quickly?
You can have 30 seconds.
No, I appreciate it. Um, I don't believe that the signing on to the UN Charter and supporting self-determination advocates for secession. I don't think we would have ever signed on to that treaty, and I don't think any interpretation of the UN treaty supports that. I don't believe in carving up the Union to our political resentments. I think that we're in this together. I think America is a great country. We need solidarity, and we need to keep the Union intact. Even if we adjust borders, it still needs to stay the Union where we all have universal rights and protections under the U.S. Constitution.
Thanks, and we'll give Jason the last word on this. Jason, go ahead, 30 seconds.
So, under the rule of law, first and foremost, comes treaties and trade deals. The UN Entrance Charter is a treaty. The United States of America signed that treaty. So, yes, actually, it does, under all legal precedent, it does actually hold more weight than even what the President of the United States said. Not only that, but it was actually put in there by people from the United States of America. So to like really throw it out there that that's not true, um, I just got to say I'm gonna try to be as gentle as possible about this, but I think you should maybe learn some international law before just speaking on it like that.
I sort of feel like I have a right to reply to that because his understanding of the law is whimsical. I studied graduate level constitutional law from very respected scholars, and I've studied international law. I particularly looked at the self-determination argument when I led the charge in the Libertarian Party to call out what happened in Gaza genocide. I firmly believe in self-determination, but it doesn't abrogate all social contracts that pre-exist. There is no misalignment with the UN Charter and the US Constitution. But I understand that folks in the sovereign citizen movement and others share your interpretation. I just think it's wrong.
Since I allowed you to say something, I'll give Jason a chance to say something else, and then I think we'll have to move on. Amy, did you have something you wanted to add before Jason says?
Yes, in brief, I'm fascinated by this subject. I was not expecting it to come up. Maybe you both would consider leading some kind of online discussion or teaching in the future. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. But since the question was posed to Jason, I'll give him the last opportunity to say something here. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I would be totally willing. I again spent like 10 years educating people, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. I became one of the world's leading experts, asked for by world leaders, people founding countries. I was asked for personally. So yeah, no, it's not whimsical. It's not made up. I know what I'm talking about, dude. And now I am gonna take a little bit of offense. So I don't want this all to become about independence from the United States of America. The Cal exit thing was because the United States had lost its way based on what the founding fathers envisioned. There's no justice. There's no compassion. There's no mercy when it's needed. That's not what the founding fathers wanted. That's
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Just in the interest of time, we're already at 90 minutes, and I'm sure people want to do something else with their Saturdays. Uh, Dawn, do you have any questions for for these other candidates?
No.
All
Mm.
right. All right. Well, how about we'll go in sort of reverse order. How about we go Matt, Jason, Dawn, 60 seconds to close. I just want to remind all the listeners that our nominating convention is on May 16th. That's Saturday, May 16th. We invite you all to come back and talk to a membership. We will share this recording with with everyone. So those who weren't able to be here during this time live will still have an opportunity to hear your remarks, and we will share the statements that you when the candidate questionnaire that you completed. We'll share those on our website so people can go there as well to learn more about you. Um, I really appreciate you all being here. Uh, but let's go, Matt, Jason, Dawn, 60 seconds on why you should be the nominee for the Pacific Greens for governor.
I want to be the nominee because I want to be able to explain to my fellow Oregonians, whether in urban areas or rural areas, that what they tell us is impossible: universal health care, universal access to housing, affordable education at the higher level, a rewarding life. The fact that you can and we can have a society where everybody has a certain amount of comfort and security if they work 40 hours a week. They should have health care. They should have housing. Their kids should have good public schools. Instead of giving $600 million away to the Trailblazers and $2 billion away to the housing development complex and the poverty industrial complex, I want to be a candidate who goes to the people of Oregon and says, we can do better. And this is how we're going to do it with detailed policy. My website, votemattrow.com, our complete policy papers are going to be published this week. We'll post it on social media also. But I want to build this party. I want to expand our message. And I would be honored to lead this ticket and help our down ballot candidates at the local level and the legislative level and anywhere else. It's been an honor to be here, and I look forward to helping this party in the years to come.
Thanks, Matt, and thanks for being here. Jason, go ahead.
having been a lifelong green since 18, like literally I turned 18, was able to register to vote for the first time in my life, and chose green, and have not looked back since. The reason for that is this is all very near and dear to my heart. It's foundational for me. I don't speak on issues that I don't know things about, and I'm not going to get fired up about something that I don't truly feel something about. I am fired up about trying to repair Oregon by, for, and of the people. We can do what's right for Oregon if we do it together. I would be honored, having been a lifelong Green, having been a campaign manager for Green candidates. Uh, you know, could name drop again, but gonna leave that part out and just say, if you want someone who's globally connected to all of our Greens, please consider nominating me as your candidate. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason, and thank you for being here. Dawn.
Uh, I want to make Oregon the healthiest and happiest place in the world. I wrote a utopia, and it's a screenplay about a utopia, and it won the ISA, the International Screenwriter Association, quarterfinalist. uh, for emerging screenwriters. It's so fun to think about a world that we could create that's so much better than now. I believe in a 16-hour work week, full political and economic rights, no war, fair trade, and we all need to have a detailed list of where all our taxes go. 60% for the military is something I'm going to be talking about a lot in my speeches. I think we should all have the ability to earn a PhD if we wish in trade schools. I want to redefine what it means to be governor, wear body cams so people don't have backdoor deals. Thank you.
Thank you, Don, and thank you for being here, and thank you everyone for being here. We're gonna wrap it up. Like I said, the nominating convention's on the 16th. I saw there's some questions in the chat. I'm gonna ask folks to maybe save those for the nominating convention. Those would be great follow-up questions for the candidates. It'll be their last attempt to sort of secure the nomination before voting begins. And voting will close for everyone, just so everyone knows, voting is going to close for everyone the same time as the two major parties primaries. So that'll be Tuesday, May 19th at 8 p.m. So they'll have from the weekend until Tuesday to cast their vote online. Um, Make sure to tell everyone about that. We need more emails of our register greens. So if folks can register for the nominating convention, which is on our website under the calendar events, please be sure to register for the convention and we'll be sure that you get a ballot. Yeah, I just want to thank the candidates again for being here. This is a sign, I think, of a growing and healthy party that's headed in the right direction. That we have three well-spoken candidates vying for this, and I really respect you all and respect the way that you handled these questions today and spoke with each other. So thank you very much. Amy, thank you, by the way, for being a timekeeper today. I appreciate that.
I'm glad I could assist in a small way, and I hope I was being as equitable as is humanly possible given my lo-fi system that I have here. Thank you everyone so much.
I appreciate it. Okay, y'all. Well, until next time, I guess. But yeah, we'll try to get all of your statements published to the website, and we will share this on our YouTube channel as well, as soon as I can get it downloaded and uploaded.
Yeah, excellent. I'm looking forward to sharing it with people I know as well.
Awesome. All right, take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. All right, stopping recording.